So lately I have been thinking and wanting to just like recheck in with this idea that I can be the best version of myself, and that if I'm being the best version of myself, then I will attract people that want to be the best versions of themselves. It's not that I ever really am actively trying to be a worse version of myself. It's just that there are times where I have a lot going on or I'm tired. And so as a result, I don't feel like I am using every day to work towards what I've previously decided would be the best version of me. This past weekend was my dad's birthday and my parents' anniversary, which is coincidentally the same day. And they had this big party just to celebrate 30 years of marriage, 60 years of life, and everyone, or as many people as were able, came in to visit us from out of town. So being with family like that, you tend to catch up, right? You tend to say, oh, this is what I'm doing, this is what I've done since the last time that you saw me, and this is what, I think I'm doing next. And it causes you to just kind of take stock of how far you have come since the last time that you saw these people. In the various conversations that I had this weekend, I realized that I am consistently reading at least one book per month, sometimes 3 or 4. That I started a whole new career. I'm a flight attendant now, and at this point, I am nearly through my probationary period. I decided on a side hustle, which by definition for me is something that I could be working on now that could one day be my own business. Because, at some point in my life, it's important to me that I'm going to be working for myself. And since I was able to decide what I wanted to do as a side hustle, I now have something to work towards every day and every week that is one day going to become my own thriving business. Because of what time of year it is, it reminds me of this one thing that my mom did, not when I was a kid, but when I was like a young adult, but we were all still living at the house. And she talked about how it's all well and good to set your goals up at the top of the year, but that you need to take stock during summer of whether or not those are even the goals you should still have, and where you think after reevaluating you want to be by the end of the year. So like June, July is that 6-month point where you can reevaluate your year yet again. So if I were to do that, I'd realize that with all of the things I have accomplished, there are things I still want to accomplish. Like I've gotten started with but not finished reorganizing my apartment and getting it to a functioning point where I feel like all it takes is a little reset at the end of the night, but everything has a place on a regular basis. I want to prioritize my health. As I'm flying and moving around so much, I realize I definitely don't drink enough water, and that I could take better care of my skin, because the change in altitude makes it so that I really can't have any lazy days when it comes to my skin. And then, now that I know that I want to be a stylist, it's time for me to get certified in that. And so I need to be making sure that on top of, making my school payments on time, I am consistently taking my classes, because the pacing is mine to keep up with. After I went over the footage, I thought of just a couple more. So one of the reasons that I decided to be a flight attendant is because my husband and I want to travel. And so one of the goals I want to add to my little list is I would love to learn at least a communicable level of the languages that they speak in some of the places that we're going, so that we're able to use that skill to get around and decide if we want to go back. I think I've talked about before that I sit down by myself to work on my music once a week. I've been able to be consistent with that skill but I haven't always been consistent with posting like a little clip from those sessions. So another one of my goals is to get a clip from my little music sessions posted every single week. The other thing I wanted to do was the mentor that I'm meeting with gave me a book that teaches you how to style yourself. It was written by fashion bloggers, so I actually want to use that book to style myself and some personal friends so that I can kind of get some hands-on experience with styling. And the last one is I want to start working with some brands. I was approached by a fitness wear company, and it made me think that maybe it's time for me to start approaching other brands. So that's something I'm also going to add to my list. Thinking about all these things, I'm realizing that the hardest thing with keeping track of your goals and coming back and making sure that you're continuing to keep track of your goals is consistency and accountability. And for me, since I'm such a social person and such an extrovert, there's an element of community that's important to me. Am I spending time with, speaking to, and aligning myself with people that are about their goals? Because that's going to affect me. I'm posting this here because while I do have a mentor with styling and, that is an accountability factor for me, I thought it would be cool if we could be each other's accountability partner. So the first thing I want y'all to do is comment about what it is you would say you want to work on if you had to think about your year to this point, and what it is you've done that's excellent and has worked out versus what it is you'd like to do. Now that those things are done, what are your next steps? And then I want you guys to keep checking in. I am going to film my organization of my apartment. I'm going to, get on here and talk about how my certification is going. I'm going to keep track of water drinking on my stories. And I think I'm going to film my journey to finding a counselor, because I just think that I would really like to start being involved in therapy, because healthy people do that. And one of the ways to stay on track with your goals is to keep things like, overwhelm from taking control of your life. And if you're checking in with yourself, it's easier not to get overwhelmed. I just thought that we could move into an era of consistency, accountability, of celebrating the things that we have been doing as we do them. And so I wanted to start chunking my goals out into 3-month sprints, meaning like every 12 weeks to 3 months, I would reevaluate the few things that I want to focus on, focusing on a little bit at a time so that I don't get overwhelmed with all of the little elements of my goals. And I wanted to, just keep track of what I'm doing so that I can give myself that pat on the back and take that time to celebrate the things that I have accomplished. I thought that we could do that together. So that's why I'm posting this video today. So lately I have been thinking and wanting to just recheck in with this idea that I can be the best version of myself, and that if I'm being the best version of myself, then I will attract people that want to be the best versions of themselves. In the various conversations that I had this weekend, I realized that I am consistently reading at least 1 book per month, sometimes 3 or 4. That I started a whole new career. I'm a flight attendant now, and at this point, I am nearly through my probationary period. I decided on a side hustle, which by definition for me is something that I could be working on now that could one day be my own business, because at some point in my life, it's important to me that I'm going to be working for myself.